Hey you guys, and welcome to my channel. In this video, I want to talk about the question of why do I push people away? A lot of survivors may actually find themselves in these shoes. It's not uncommon, especially after you've been traumatized by a very toxic relationship or many toxic relationships. You can end up going from one end of the spectrum to another. You actually subconsciously pushing people away. And then consciously as well. All right. So I came up with 8 reasons why people typically do this. Could there be other reasons? Absolutely. Absolutely, guys. But I think, a lot of times, or for the general masses, you'll find yourself fitting into one or more of these categories. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about it. My channel is really about helping people self-reflect. So hopefully, for someone who maybe cannot put their finger on it, perhaps by the end of this video, if you're willing to be open and honest with yourself, first and foremost, of course, you'll be able to say, you know what? Yeah, I think I've been doing this. I've been doing that, and it'll start making sense. And this is a great thing because at least, what we can acknowledge, we can begin to address, right? Right. So let's go ahead and go down this list of 8 things. So number 1 on my list of why people are often pushing others away is most likely they're pushing themselves away too. A lot of times on this channel, I do say that people can't give what they don't have. So if you're already feeling disconnected within yourself, maybe you're going through a season of a lot of changes, a lot of ups and downs. Maybe you look in the mirror, you don't recognize yourself anymore, or maybe, you may be not liking what you're seeing. So you're just feeling disconnected with yourself as it is. That's not the time, most likely, a lot of people are going to be gravitating towards others. Now, I will say this, on the other end of the spectrum, of course, other people fill voids with other people when they're running from themselves and they're feeling disconnected from themselves. But for the sake of this video, it could also be a reason, of course, of why we're pushing people away. Because even when we're filling the voids with those people, it's really not about them. And inadvertently, we will still end up pushing them away because we're not with them for healthy reasons. Okay. So number 1, people are pushing other people away a lot of times because they're also pushing themselves away. All right. And yeah, if I'm not accepting myself, chances are I'm not accepting other people as well. All right. Number 2 on my list is fear. Fear can control a person's life to a high degree if we don't learn how to have a shift in our mentalities. But what the fear might be stemming from is a fear of intimacy, a fear of, or being afraid to be vulnerable with someone on any level. This fear could be stemming from the past devastations, like I talked about in the, a few moments ago. I don't want to feel that again. I don't want to feel that kind of hurt and devastation again. I don't want them to be the next ones to hurt me like them. See, there's a fear there. There's a fear, and then that fear of getting hurt is greater than the fear of a possible success. Because it's a possibility that they won't do these things. But that fear, has taken the baton in this situation. And like I said, it's greater than, the possible love, the additional love and happiness that person should be adding to your life in a healthy situation. Okay. So yeah, fear is a major, major reason, guys. And I definitely wanted to point that out. So the 3rd thing that I have here on my list is trust. People definitely can have trust issues, but the trust, it could be, I don't want to trust other people. And it could also be people not trusting themselves. They might feel like, what, I have a bad picker. I always seem to end up in this situation or that situation. Like I don't know if I can trust myself to use my better judgment. I don't know if I can trust myself to really create the healthy boundaries and standards. And then, I don't know if I can trust them to honor and respect my boundaries and standards. It could be something like that. It could also be not trusting God and the universe, not trusting and having faith that God He knows my needs and He will provide. If I do my best, He'll do the rest. Trusting that there is love that I can get externally. Okay. But a lot of times in that case, we don't have the adequate love already inside of us. Okay. And I'm going to talk about that a little further down on the list here. But yeah, the trust is just, extends, like I said, beyond just trusting others. Is usually a lack of trust in self, lack of trust in God and the universe as well. And all these things are working together in this trust. So it's like ye of little faith type of thing, ye of little hope. All right. So I definitely wanted to point that out. The next thing, number 4 on my list, is control. It's control. When you've been through a lot of devastations, it's like you want to try to control all these elements that you can. And then you find out, oh, it looks like I might only be able to control myself here. And that might make someone feel uneasy, because I can control me and not them. And that means they could actually disrespect me. And then that makes you not even want to take the opportunity, not give anyone the chance to be able to do that, and the control is really about the unknown here. Like you don't know where this is going to end up, how things are going to fall into place. But honestly, that's okay. That's okay to not know it. I'm just going to intercept to say that. All you need to know is that you have healthy boundaries and that you won't participate and continue in a situation that doesn't serve you. So the unknown then becomes very minimized because I know I'm going to protect myself. Okay? So I just wanted to say that right there and go to the next thing on my list. So number 5, I have, perhaps you may be overcritical. That happens. We end up pushing people away because we're overcritical in our nature or in our mentality. And a lot of times this might look like a person that has unrealistic expectations. Maybe this person is being really demanding because, it could be a situation where, I allowed people to give me so little in the past. I'm never going to do that again. And you go from one end of the spectrum to another. And now you may be a little demanding. You may become impatient because you're just bent on making sure, no one's going to get over on me again, and you may even be looking for problems at that point. And you're trying to intercept because you don't want to feel that rejection and abandonment, but then it becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy, if you will, because your behavior inadvertently causes it to happen. So that can certainly happen if you've been overcritical and have unrealistic expectations. Okay? Now I want to intercept here and say, you have to understand what unrealistic expectations are to what fair expectations are. Because when someone gets really broken and on the inside, they might even think it's unrealistic to think that someone will respect them. It may be unrealistic to think that someone could be honest with them. So, those are realistic expectations. But of course, they're unrealistic expectations with a toxic person. So there's the difference, okay? So, we'll be talking about that a little further down the list here. But I just wanted to intercept that. So the next thing that I have here on my list Number 6 is the psychological problems. Now, this is going to house or basically this is an umbrella of a whole lot of things, guys. And this is stuff like depression, mental illness, not being healed, from past traumas, hypervigilance, all of that. And hypervigilance can go under the overcritical as well. Being emotionally unavailable. And then, I'm going to put this under psychological problems as well. The low self-esteem and not feeling worthy. Like, oh, I'm not pretty enough, or I'm not successful enough, or I don't have enough money. Or, this is psychological as well. Feeling like the oddball, feeling like the outcast, having abandonment issues. We can put learned helplessness under here from past experiences. And this would be someone that thinks, well, I always try and it never works. I always get abused and used by people. And I'm going to intercept that and just say, we have to stop telling ourselves that story, because it's ED is at the end. You got abused. You got used in the past. Okay. You had those experiences, but it doesn't mean that it has to continue. And those words like always, never, we have to be careful when we say that, because there's billions of people here on the earth. And of course, all of them are not abusive. So it's not even the truth. So we have to really mind the stories that we're telling ourselves. And that leads to this type of poor conditioning in our mentality. And of course, that negative outlook is in our subconscious. And then, of course, now consciously and subconsciously, we're going to be pushing people away. All right. So I want to go ahead down to number 7, and that's emotional immaturity. All right. I really didn't want to put that with psychological problems, because I feel like it can be a topic to stand on its own. Although, yes, having emotional immaturity can lead to the psychological problems. But I wanted to differentiate it from this type of angle, guys. And that emotional maturity can be causing confusion within you. And that is, when you're seeing rejection, or you're connecting the rejection or the relationship not working with your self-worth. Or you're connecting that rejection as a failure. When obvious, sometimes the rejection is a success, this is good. Like, it's a redirection for you. But having these limited perceptions, these limited views, not being able to accept an ending and see that it's a beginning somewhere else. So, your view of endings, period. Having a poor shield of protection over yourself. That's your emotional maturity. The aspects of yourself that only you are supposed to be defining. Your self-esteem, your self-worth. They have the word self in front of it, because you're responsible for that, not how other people treat you. That makes it external at that point, and it's not your self-worth. It's their worth of you, which isn't your self-worth. It shouldn't be, but sometimes we make it that way. So that's why I wanted to group things like this under the emotional maturity. All right. And then all of these things, are forms of self-sabotage and self-harm. All right. And then eventually self-isolation. Okay. So the last thing that I have here on the list, guys, is being introverted. Some people really have a pattern or, a personality that may have been more prone to being introverted. Perhaps you were an only child. Perhaps you feel nervous in groups even. You've made a pattern of being self-isolated, going into hermit mode type of situation. Maybe you have poor social skills or communication skills. And it's maybe from a lack of doing it. It's kind of like once you start riding a bike, you never forget per se, but you can go faster on it. You feel more confident on it. But at first you have on your knee pads and your elbow pads and your helmet as a child, most of the time. And then as you get confident, you take those things off. and, you're doing it with more confidence. So the introverted person, it may be like a pattern more than anything. It's like their comfort zone, if you will. So, that's something, this person may have a hard time with change. And it's not, I'm going to just say, if you are the introverted person, most human beings have a problem with change. We really are creatures of habits. So, you don't have to look down on yourself for that. But just recognizing, I have a pattern, every Friday night, every Saturday night, I get off of work, I get my takeout, I come home by myself, I sit on my couch, I cut on my TV, and that's it. I don't really, my world is, I'm not socializing, I'm not inviting people in, And then what I meant to also mention under the emotional maturity before I get too far is not seeing the value of a connection, having those external connections, Oh, people are a waste of time. All they do is just take advantage of you. It's better to just be by myself in this world. Just having that negative, very negative outlook of the world and not as a scary place, and based off of your past experiences or something you've seen on the news or, your observations of these limited events here. And yes, you might be like, well, it's not limited events, Lakia. There's been lots and lots of horrible things that has happened in mankind and history of mankind and in this world. And, it doesn't feel safe to me. I don't see the value of investing in people. Well, let me just differentiate here. Yeah, there isn't a value in investing in a toxic person. So that's the difference. But there's certainly value in investing in a healthy person, guys. But you would have to experience that to know it. But I wouldn't want you to rob yourself of that experience, because of the things on this list, because of your fear and your lack of trust, or maybe, in your efforts to try to control yourself from the human experience. Life isn't picking on you. Everyone has shed a tear. Everyone has been betrayed. Everyone has, made connections with people that were snakes in the grass. It has happened. It has happened, guys. Life is not picking on you. But the people who have success in life are the ones that are able to take a bump and get back up and keep going. That girl that finally got her husband that loved her and cherished her after all those guys dogged her out. Keyword, all those guys dogged her out, but because she kept trying, she still kept her faith in love. She didn't need to keep her faith in those people who already proven themselves unworthy, who already disqualified themselves. But it didn't have to disqualify her. She didn't have to say, I'm still lovable. I'm still lovable and I'm still worthy. They're not worthy. They're not ready. I'm going to go find it. I can still have that. And then she kept trying, bam, eventually. But what if she had given up? What if she let all those past experiences, fester in her head, not find her healing, and think, you know what, this is how it's going to be. So, that's just one example, of course. We have to be in it to win it. But when we know that we love ourselves, we can turn down a situation that isn't for our good, knowing that there's not lack out here, but there's abundance and there's billions of other connections, and one of those will be better suited. And I'm willing to be patient, and I can wait for that to happen. I trust that can happen. I don't need to control everything in my external environment, because I know if I have a healthy balance within myself, if I have control over that, everything else will fall into line, and I'm going to be okay one way or another. Okay, guys? So I hope that this is helping someone who feel like they are pushing people away, get reconnected with themselves, stop living their lives in fear, start trusting themselves and God and the universe, let go of the need to control the things that they will never have control over anyway, and just be healthy in the things that you do have control over, having realistic expectations, healing yourself of your psychological problems, increasing your emotional maturity, and pushing yourself to put yourself out there and be more outgoing, and, not just accepting, I'm just introverted. That's how I've always been. Because it is a part of the human experience to want to have that connection. There's nothing wrong with wanting to have companionship and partnership, to wanting to make a friend, to, share hobbies and, share laughters and smiles, and to share your love. It's not just for you to just keep to yourself. Okay, it's to be sharing and to be spreading and to be helping and giving to others. And they should be doing the same with you. It's a beautiful thing when it's going the healthy way, guys. All right. So I just wanted to make this video to just help someone with this, why do I push people away type of question. And hopefully, this has shed some light on it for you. I do offer one-on-one coaching for those of you struggling with this. And we could talk about those barriers, and we can talk about solutions and actions and mindsets and plans that you can take to go ahead and fix that, guys. All right. Because it's definitely not a life sentence. And, obviously we can do better when we know better, right? And we could choose to do better when we know better. So if this video resonates with you, go ahead and hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, feel free to do so. I upload videos on a regular basis, and there's a lot of content already here to help you get closer to yourself, help you do your shadow work, help you, be a better person, understand any traumas or toxic situations that you've been in. Take what you can to help you on your journey, guys. All right. I run a free support group over on Facebook for survivors of narcissistic abuse. Just inbox me and let me know that you're a survivor, because I'm really, I get a lot of random requests, and especially if you're making a profile just to be in the support group, you don't have a profile pictures and stuff like that. I need to know that it's a real human being behind there, because I do understand that. All right. Other than that, you can visit my site, LakiaCrawford.com, to schedule your appointment with me, a one-on-one private session. And I help people with all types of things. I'm a general life coach, but I definitely specialize in toxic relationships and shadow work with yourself. All right. But in reaching goals and anything, you just hit me up with that and we'll talk about it and come up with a plan. All right. My website also has my other products, which is therapeutic books that I've written to help you through the healing process. I highly recommend you guys check that out. They're also available on Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble's ebook versions and hard copies. All right. So much information that we can learn in life if we just start reading more. All right. If you're not a reader, I highly recommend it. Read more. All right. With that being said, guys, thank you for listening. And what do I say at the end of all of my videos? Of course, never give up on yourself. Keep doing the work, guys. And until next time, please take care.